Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Well, a terrified woman and 3 children have escaped from their burning home moments before it became fully engulfed by flames. Witnesses say a Molotov cocktail was thrown through the window, destroying everything inside. But the tragedy has rallied a huge response from those wanting to help.
Behind this fireball were 3 young children who had just sat down for dinner. Their Waring Street home in Ravenswood set alight in a cruel arson attack. Today, that living room was a burnt-out shell. Those inside escaped uninjured, but all their possessions were destroyed, except for a single photo album. It's a miracle it survived.
Certainly from the exterior of the house, it was going well, so too dangerous for crews to get inside the house and conduct internal attack on the fire.
The inferno started at 5:30 last night. The home was privately owned and insured, but it's caused $200,000 in damage and demanded a dogged effort from firefighters.
We spent a good hour fighting the fire.
Neighbours have told us they faced a terrifying scene, a wall of flames as they rushed to safety. Firefighters are relieved no other homes were damaged, but the terrible event has mobilised a heartwarming response. A relative of the victims has been overwhelmed by donations.
We just can't say thank you enough. I delivered a carload, quite literally, a carload to the family today, and they were lost for words. They just started crying. I've had gift cards dropped off in the letterbox, and they're just stunned at the kindness. We all are.
Investigations are ongoing. If anyone has information, contact Crime Stoppers. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
And fire has destroyed a 65-foot catamaran at Gordon this morning. Fire crews arriving just before 3:30 a.m. to find the boat, which is about 100 metres from shore, fully engulfed. A man who was the only occupant of the boat managed to call emergency services and row his dinghy to safety. The boat has now sunk and will need to be brought to the surface before an investigation into what caused the fire can start. 2 drivers are in a critical condition tonight with serious injuries from a head-on crash on the Arthur Highway near FORCETT. Initial crash investigations suggest speed may have been a contributing factor, with one of the cars crossing into oncoming traffic. And a warning, this report contains confronting images.
A graphic scene in the wake of a devastating crash on the Arthur Highway. A car left upside down and bent in half. The other a crumpled mess, where the force of the 2 vehicles travelling in opposite directions met.
So at approximately 10:45 a.m. this morning, there's been a 2-vehicle head-on collision on the Arthur Highway just south of FORCETT. It appears at this stage that one of the vehicles has veered onto the incorrect side of the road.
Each of these cars had a single occupant. One was trapped. Both drivers pulled from the wreckage with critical injuries. A 29-year-old Primrose Sands man in the black Holden, a 39-year-old from Interstate in the silver Yaris.
Both of those drivers were treated by Tasmania Ambulance Service on scene and have been conveyed to the Royal Hobart Hospital for further treatment.
Crash investigators marking the road, piecing together the factors behind this serious collision.
Look, driving conditions are good today. It would appear at this stage that speed is possibly a contributing factor. However, investigations are continuing and that hasn't been confirmed at this stage.
The Arthur Highway closed for several hours as crews removed the wrecks and restored the scene back to a functioning road. Police, who've seen too many incidents like this, urging motorists to take extra care in the lead up to Easter.
We need to stay safe on our roads. Avoid distractions in your vehicles, stay off your phone, wear your seatbelts and abide by the speed limits. It only takes a split second in time for a tragedy to occur on our roads.
Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
A 54-year-old Hobart man says he only had the clothes on his back and 3 jelly snakes when he was forced to sleep the night on a small island near Maria Island after becoming stranded yesterday. Steve Smith's kayak was swept out to sea around midday, prompting a massive air and ground search.
A father and his family reunited. Relief after a more than 20-hour ordeal off Maria Island.
As I got tireder and hungrier and thirstier, you obviously start to think the worst.
Mr. Smith didn't want to speak on camera today but shared his story, describing how he left at around 9:30 yesterday morning in his kayak, expecting to be back around 2. When he hadn't arrived, his wife alerted authorities, sparking a major air and ground search with Westpac rescue helicopters, police and volunteer vessels.
There was a great relief when I saw the lights of the helicopter. Though it was searching on the wrong side and didn't see me, it meant that the people were already out looking for me.
All the while, Mr. Smith was stranded here on Ile du Nord after stopping for a short break around midday. Within minutes, his kayak had been swept out to sea and was too risky to retrieve. All he had was the clothes on his back, his life jacket and 3 jelly snakes.
Food, my water, my phone, everything really, all my fishing gear. My transport, most importantly.
Forced to stay overnight, he became increasingly anxious. At first light, he again attached his life jacket to a stick for attention. Finally, with 1 jelly snake left, he was spotted by local police.
Supply me through the ordeal, so to speak, and the last one I ate when the police arrived.
Police saying Mr. Smith was wearing adequate warm clothing, a life jacket and a wetsuit, and that he did all the right things in order to ensure his safe return. The 54-year-old praising emergency services, saying their actions showed Tasmanians at their best.
I'd like to express great thanks to the police and all the rescue services involved, in particular the volunteers out of Glenorchy and Dodges Ferry.
Louise, HEDGER, 7 Tasmania News.
An offender is on the loose after a robbery at Derwent Park last night. Police say a worker was closing up the TAB at around 6:30 when he was approached by a man. The offender demanded the staff member open the safe. The robber made off with cash using the worker's motorbike. It was dumped on Lower Domain Road a short time later. Police are seeking information on the man, who's described as 180 centimetres tall, average build and wearing dark clothing. The mental health care of Tasmanian prisoners is set to be probed at an inquest in August. Dates have been set aside to examine the 2016 killing of North Hobart shopkeeper Vula Delios. She was stabbed to death by a man found to be insane who had just been released from prison. A task force has completed a report into prisoner mental health care, and the coroner heard that's been handed to counsel assisting. They're now considering if witnesses need to be called. The Ben Lomond Alpine Hotel will not be rebuilt after it was extensively damaged in a fire last year. The hotel owners say the decision not to rebuild was made after much consultation between themselves and the Tasmanian Parks and Wildlife Service. The cause of the May 15 fire was found to be accidental, with the damage bill estimated at $1 million. Hobart commuters are set to be caught up in more disruption. Metro bus drivers announcing industrial action from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. next Tuesday as they fight for better pay and conditions. The union says it's chosen to hold a stop work meeting then because it's during the quietest school holidays and Easter. Last month's industrial action forced the cancellation of more than 500 Metro services in Hobart. The Tasmanian health professionals are issuing a desperate call for help to ensure the supply of our emergency blood stocks. The Red Cross says Easter and Anzac Day lining up has caused a shortfall, and they're in need of 200 donations.
For Daniel Bellinger, donating blood is so easy and effortless, he reads a book at the same time. He says this is roughly the 80th time he's donated.
It's just something that I can do. I think it helps a lot of people, and people that might really need it if they're in hospital or if they're sick.
People like Daniel are desperately needed at Tasmania's 4 blood donation centres. With Easter and Anzac Day aligned, it's created the perfect storm for a donation shortfall.
Because we have so many public holidays close together, and many of our wonderful regular donors will be away. So we're calling on about 200 additional donors to come in and see us over the Easter holidays.
Doctors at our hospital seeing the life-saving results.
Around 1 in 3 Australians actually require a blood product or transfusion at some time in their life. However, only about 1 in 30 Australians are able to give blood.
Look, we really love to see people with types O and A. However, often, particularly if someone's a new donor, they may not know their blood type, and we'd love to see them come in anyway, and that will be part of the assessment when they come in.
Details on eligibility and appointments can be found on the Donate Blood website. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
A plan to build 31 luxury cabins at the BRIDESTOWE Lavender estate is a step closer, with a development application given the green light. The project will fill an accommodation gap in the northeast, but developers need to raise millions of dollars for the retreats to come to life.
Bushland behind Nabola's popular lavender farm is closer than ever to becoming a hotspot for high-end tourists. It could one day home dozens of luxury cabins offering private space, fresh air and a taste of the wilderness, all highly desirable to an international visitor.
Embracing what is in Tasmania and what makes Tasmania great.
Last night, the plan's development application was approved, but making the dream come true has a $15 million price tag.
It's not an insignificant development, and it's certainly not something that we try and do alone. Our expertise is in agritourism. This is a complementary business.
A business which would keep visitor numbers ticking over even when the vibrant purple fields lose their colour. The Dorset Council hopes it fills a gap in accommodation options.
There is certainly a shortage of that type of accommodation in the northeast, there's no doubt about that. There's a couple of accommodation places being built in Derby which cater for that high-end, those high-end customers, but outside of that it's very limited and few and far between.
The proposal received little opposition and its timing couldn't be better, with visitor numbers climbing to record levels.
At one point we believe that up to 2,500 people visited this site.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Proceedings have begun in the federal court against Bupa Aged Care Australia over allegations the health group made false and misleading representation about services it did not or only partially provided in its homes. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission alleges Bupa Aged Care charged thousands of residents a fee for a package of extra services that it did not provide. The centre at South Hobart was said to include escorted fortnightly visits to external libraries, a speaker's corner and choir, and heating and cooling system for residents' rooms that were individually controllable. It's understood 21 aged care homes across the country were affected.
Tasmanian Tiger stars Matthew Wade and Jackson Bird have their eyes firmly fixed on earning a spot in the Ashes squad, with the pair ready to show why they belong back in national colours after being selected in the Australian A side.
Despite being the country's best batsman last domestic season, Wade was overlooked time and time again for national honours, but selectors couldn't ignore him any longer.
To change it, the last couple of times it rung, it was mean getting dropped, so it was nice to get the phone call. I felt like I've played really well over the last 12, 18 months, and yeah, it's a little reward, I suppose, for the work that I've put in.
Named as part of the Australia A 4-day squad, along with fellow Tiger Jackson Bird, Wade has also been included in the one-day Australia A squad. The pair will now look to push their cases for selection in August Ashes series during several matches in England against local county sides in June and July.
Potentially be a part of an Ashes series. It's probably the biggest series in world cricket. It's a career highlight of mine from 2013, so yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into training in the next few weeks.
I'm really comfortable with what I can provide on field and not too worried about external point of views or people talking too much about selection. For me, it's just going out there and playing a game of cricket.
Meantime, the Tasmanian Devils will have a well-earned break from the NAB League this weekend, following the side's first ever win on home soil against the Calder Cannons last Sunday, in front of more than 2,000 fans at Penguins Dial Park.
Making sure we wore the jersey with pride and passion, and obviously at the end of the day, the scoreboard would probably show that we did play with pride.
The Devils now have 2 wins from 3 matches as they prepare for another home clash against competition powerhouse, the Western Jets, at UTAS Stadium on Sunday, April 28.
Finally in sport, it's set to be a baptism of fire for the Southern Huskies this week, with the squad having chopped and changed and only trained together once. They'll find out exactly where they're at on Thursday night in their first ever match in the New Zealand NBL competition.
Nichols was instrumental in the Hobart Chargers' 2018 championship success, but is expecting to see a completely different level of competition on the court this Thursday night.
It's a high-caliber league. I mean, you see all the signings going on in that league, and it's going to be very tough. But, you know, we knew that coming into it, and, you know, we accept the challenge.
Former US college baller Jordan Vandenberg rounds out the Huskies squad after Mathieu Muo was denied entry into the league last minute due to restrictions on the amount of imports per club. But the towering 7'1" centre is confident his new side won't be overwhelmed in their season opener against the Manawatu Jets, despite having only trained together once as a group.
We'll be ready. It's just, you know, as the season progresses, we become more of a team. Some of these other teams have been playing together for, you know, a couple of years, so. But I mean, half the team played together last year, won a championship in Seawall, so now this is a step up, so hopefully, you know, we can do the same thing.
We've just got to go over there really hungry to come back with a couple of wins and try and get through this first month unscathed.
To hockey, and young Tasmanian Madison Smith has cemented herself as a true rising star of the sport, with the 14-year-old named player of the tournament after leading the goal scoring at the recent National Under-15 Championships in New South Wales.
Just to keep improving on my game and just awareness and understanding, and then hopefully one day maybe playing for Australia.
And Jack Hale's hopes for selection in the national squad for the World Athletics Championships in Doha in September have been bolstered. Named in Australia's 4x100 metres relay team at next month's World Relay Championships in Japan. A top 10 finish will see the team automatically qualify for Doha, while a top 8 spot will see them bound for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And Tasmanian paddler Daniel Watkins has recorded the fastest raw time during the K1 final at the Pyrenees Cup in France, but 6 gate penalties saw him denied a podium finish, bumping him back to 8th spot in the final standings.
Good evening, and as we go to air tonight, we are checking that April hasn't flipped back to February, as again we warmed up around Tasmania. Hobart 28 degrees, Launceston 25, Burnie 20 and Devonport 22. Some temperatures up to 10 degrees above average. Low Rocky Point out top with 29. King Island, Strawn and Grove 27. Campania and Ooze 26 degrees. Flinders Island 24. Friendly Beaches 23. Lowhead 20 and Liaweenie 18. Cloud today over northern and eastern areas of the state. That brought a pre-dawn shower to the east coast. Mostly clear skies for the rest of the state. Frontal cloud is over southern WA, extending to a low over the Southern Ocean, preceded by a prefrontal trough. Scattered cloud over an otherwise clear mainland. Tomorrow the front moves to be just west of us. High pressure ridges located each side of that. Troughs remain over northern WA and New South Wales. North to northeasterly winds at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the west and east. A change to the west at 15 to 20 knots later in the day. Swells building from 2 metres to up to 3 and even 4 metres in western and southern waters later. Strong wind warning, that's on from St Helens Point right down and around to Stanley. A small craft wind alert for the lakes. Hobart tomorrow, warm again, 27. Some late rain moving in, Geefston the same, 24 the top for Bothwell. Launceston, a high of 25 degrees, late rain for Devonport and 21, same for Cressy, 24 the maximum though. Burnie can expect 21 degrees with rain developing, Strawn 23, Curry rain on the way too and 22 degrees. St Helens partly cloudy, 22 the top, up to 24 for Swansea and Orford with late rain moving in. Here's Thursday's forecast. Hobart drops 11 degrees to be expecting an early shower and just 16. Showers contracting to the west and south late morning. It's all over. Friday, a fine partly cloudy day after a cold frosty start inland. A shower over Burnie, maybe later in the day on Saturday with fine weather for the remainder. 23 in Perth tomorrow, a shower clearing from Adelaide but developing later over Melbourne. A sunny day for Canberra but showers for Sydney and Brisbane. 23 degrees in Hobart, Launceston 20 and Devonport 18, and it's clear right now, but we are expecting the cloud to build up tomorrow and a few showers tomorrow evening, Joe. Some welcome showers too. Very dry at my place at the moment. The only thing getting a decent watering is the lemon tree.
We just did not need to know that. Thank you very much, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.